When I first moved to Canada, I was scared of getting into a particular industry, and that was the food industry, because I was thinking, okay, if you need to deal with people who are hungry, then you're already at a disadvantage. Your profession, especially in the past few years, I think is even more scary because stress is everywhere.
It is everywhere. It
you
is.
know, with the pandemic,
Yep.
almost taking us out, and everything that's so fast, you know, internet, technology, there's AI now that's trying to be like us. It's such a high stress world right now that people don't realize, okay, this is when we need, you know, mental wellness, mental well-being, and we take that for granted because we're just trying to live day to day, trying to be productive, trying to accomplish things. And then so my question for you first of all is, how did you get into this industry and how are you liking it so far?
Okay, so it was definitely a curvy journey. I knew from a very young age that I just had a love for people and love for psychology, and somehow I would land somewhere here. But that's not the way life goes, right? And so I went into business and management and leadership, and I had my own businesses from the age of 21. And then again, life takes you on its own journey, doesn't it? And I was married, divorced, and then found myself trying to reestablish a new life. And that's where I met Vincent, and we've done just that. We established a brand new life together, have 2 beautiful children, and Vincent is a firefighter. And I have always had a love for uniforms, love police, love fire. You know, I just have a real affection for the work that they do and the things that they go through. And as I became a spouse of a firefighter, that journey really started to unravel, and I started to see, I actually had no idea how bad it really was for them and for the families, and the repercussions of seeing so much exposure to trauma and what that can do on your life. And so I kind of fell into this by accident, but with purpose. And Vincent has been on his journey with dealing with the work-related injuries that come along with that. And I decided that, why are we going through this alone? Why are families going through that alone? Why are the first responders that serve us going through this alone? And so that's what set me on this path. And it's still been a very curvy, windy road, sometimes a very lonely road. And then COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, it wasn't about the trauma and exposure that first responders see. It's now exposure and trauma that everybody felt like they were seeing and experiencing. And we saw our world kind of really have to adapt.
And it actually gave us the time to reflect. Oh, because now we're like, okay, lockdown, and you're like, where the productivity's gone, but now you get to have that time to think about your life, and it even stresses you out. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, remember, stress isn't about good or bad. Stress is stress.
Yeah.
And so when we can understand how stress affects us and what kinds of stress affect us in different ways, we can now start to use that information to adapt. And here's the most amazing things about us being human is we adapted. Mm-hmm. Even during the pandemic, when we were in crisis mode, we went through all these different phases and stages. And I did so many talks during that period of time as I was explaining to people, are you feeling like this right now?
Yep.
Well, that makes sense. And here's why. Next, 6 months, you're probably feeling more like this and not sure why. And a lot of people were very hangry because they were hungry for connection and angry and resentful that they couldn't have it. And we saw a lot of relationships either get really closer and then some completely dissolve.
That's right.
So it tested us in ways that we would never have expected. But at the end of the day, here we are. So it's amazing how we as human beings have the capacity to be resilient. It's a natural capacity and one that we can continue to build upon. And that's really important for people to know, especially when they're feeling very hopeless and helpless, is that that's not where you have to get stuck. It's that if you have the right tools, if you have the knowledge, if you have the supports, you can rise from that position. You can explore new ways of living, new possibilities, that you don't have to be stuck in that moment.
I recently saw a meme on Facebook of all things. It said, burnout is when you're doing work that you don't really like for a person that you don't really like either. And I'm thinking, wait, this is, awesome for someone who's like an entrepreneur, go-getter, aggressive kind of person. But if that is everywhere, people will be perceiving it from, like different set of eyes, and they're thinking, oh, then I shouldn't be burnt out because I love what I do.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when you're talking about the first responders, the firefighters, the healthcare workers, see, those are careers that you just don't go in lightly. Yeah. I believe it's a calling, right?
Yeah.
Because you just don't have to be like smart and strong and, full of like stamina, endurance, but it is a calling to be of service to others.
Yes.
So I would assume that a lot of these people really love what they do, but, pandemic showed us that they can be burnt out. Even after the pandemic, people are feeling burnt out. But I wanted you to talk a little bit about how real is it to be burnt out, and what are the signs, and what should your thinking be when you feel like, oh, something's happening. I love my job, but how come?
Yeah.
I think I'm breaking down.
And here's the thing. I love my job. Absolutely love my job. And I love who I do it for. And I love the outcome and the results that I see. But I can burn out. And I know when I'm going to burn out. And sometimes I stretch myself a little too far, but I become far more conscientious of that and recognize that I can't allow myself to continuously go to that place without there being consequences, not only on my work, but on myself, which then filters down to my family. The signs that I recognize when I'm burning out is my window of tolerance gets really small. Right? I'm generally a very happy person, a very positive outlook, things like that. Like I'm pretty optimistic. Mm-hmm. However, when I start to get the frowned brows and things don't look as bright, I don't feel like drinking, I don't feel like eating, I don't feel like socializing, I stop taking calls. I really retreat, I find. And for me, I guess the indicator then is like I look at the energetics of what I'm doing. When my work is fulfilling me and I am regenerating from it and it's energizing me, it's fantastic. I have to recognize though when it's also depleting me. And that's normal, completely normal, but allowing it to deplete me to a point where I can't function anymore, that I have to take responsibility for that and really start to decide then what am I going to do to replenish that energetic.
That's a good thing that you
power.
mentioned the physiological aspects, because there's a saying, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work.
No,
right?
but we can get caught in that. That's a trap too, right? Because how many of us just work? We don't. We have life, we have children, and everything takes a toll or is a stress on us. Like I said, there's good stress, there's bad stress, there's all kinds of stress. And stress, no matter what it is, it's stretching our elasticity, which is the good thing it does, but at the same time, it's depleting, which means we have a responsibility to be restorative or to replenish ourselves, whether that's psychological, social, biological. There's so many different ways. And I know that I have started to explore all those different ways, even with myself. I try new things. I discovered, during COVID, I discovered the handpan, which is a drum. I am not musically inclined at all. I wish I was talented, but I'm not. But I recognize that I love sound and I like vibration, but I don't know how to play. But this instrument doesn't require me to know how to play. It's just tones and soothing vibrations, and it's the most beautiful instrument ever. And I really liked it.
And it's therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. But if you were to tell me, Sejal, go do yoga, go meditate, I'd say, Anne, I'm the worst meditator ever. I will be the first one to tell everybody, go out there and learn how to breathe, how to do yoga, how to meditate. It's the best thing for you, scientifically. But realistically, it's stressful for me. I can't do it, and I don't do it very well. So I needed to find other ways that I could get the same benefit, the same effects. So things like playing the hand drum is something I discovered for myself. Socializing, very low key, not with tons of people, but with maybe one person, maybe two, and you're having very light conversation, a cup of tea in a very soothing environment. That works well for me. Reading. I picked up reading again. I hadn't read in decades, at least nothing fun. So I've started doing that again. So taking out little moments and trying different things. Variety is also key for me. I don't like doing just one thing. I'm a multitasker. My brain is always going in different directions. So to just do one thing can become very monotonous for me. So having a variety of simple things is sometimes a good idea.
So that's a great tool for people to really listen to their bodies, listening to themselves, and find what can soothe them.
Discovery.
Right.
Like we're all
That's
learning
good.
new things about ourselves. And remember, as we're aging each decade, we're changing. Our preferences are changing. What's available to us is changing. What is available to us now in our 40s and 50s wasn't maybe possible in our 20s. And maybe it wouldn't have even been attractive to us, but now it is. So to me, about exploring and having an open mind, but to really be on the lookout for things that are going to relax you, restore you, re-energize you. And each of those things are different things, right?
Yeah.
Being restorative, relaxing is very different than re-energizing.
That's,
Right?
Yep.
So we're talking about different ways of filling your bucket. There's a great resource there actually by a colleague of mine, Jamie Grumman. He actually wrote a book that describes how to fill the different buckets for yourself in terms of relaxing. So
Write that
there's
down
a tool.
later so we can recommend it to our
It's just
viewers.
another resource, and I'm full of resources, so they may just come out randomly.
So let's get into the brain portion of this conversation.
Sure.
So when it comes to stress and well-being, it manifests physically. A lot of people get allergies, they don't know where they're coming from. Other people get ailments and they're like, we don't have history of that, and it's coming out through my body. But we have to remember to take care of the mind, right? And you were telling me before the show that one thing can help us really navigate our different situations, our different predicaments, and that is the toxic thinking, right? On social media, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm cutting this relationship because it's toxic. It no longer serves me," and that's everywhere. And I'm thinking, wow, like people are being loud about cutting things off, about ending things, about getting rid of things that don't serve them. So what do you do in place of that now? Like it's a half message, and it's kind of dangerous only because, yes, it's easy to let go of things, or maybe it's not, but like to rid yourself of everything that you think might be damaging to you may not be the one solution.
Well, just think about what you just said, right? Like everything, it's so easy for us to identify when something external to us is toxic and then decide, I'm done with that.
Unfollow.
And that's it, right? It's a click of a button.
Yeah.
And how many of us have actually sat down and really looked at ourselves and said, where is the toxicity in my life, inside of me? How am I contributing to what I'm experiencing in the world? So, part of the work that I'm doing right now is bringing this to the forefront and to highlight to people that there are so many problems that are plaguing our communities, our families, our students, our children, ourselves, our relationships. Like, the list just goes on. And so it becomes very overwhelming. And many of us are in places where we feel very hopeless and helpless, which is why we're seeing a rise in the deterioration of relationships, the increase in suicide or suicide attempts. So my work is really about bringing to light the fact that there's a cause and there's an effect. And we need to start looking at what is it within ourselves, because we can't wait for the government to change it. We can't wait for leadership to make these changes, because systemic change takes time. Yeah. We can make instant change within ourselves. So I'm saying, why not start there? Yes, our systems hopefully will catch up, but in the meantime, why lose the time? Let's start looking at ourselves and seeing what can be done, what can we change in our life, my life right now. So I look at my problems and I go, okay, what's causing this problem? And what is the effect that these causes are having in my life? And toxic thinking. And where did this toxic thinking come from? These patterns, these messages, these limitations, these beliefs, sometimes even these values. Where did they come from? They were ingrained to us since the day we were born. They were taught to us by society, by teachers, by parents, by messages, by social media, by everything that we're consuming. And we don't necessarily filter what we're consuming, and nor is it being filtered for us. Therefore, we're just taking it all in, but we're not deciphering what's good, what's real, what's of value to us. We just take it all in. Then on top of that, you now have life experience. And how many of us can say that life is great 24/7? It's not. We run into issues, we run into problems, we run into difficult situations and experiences. People hurt us. And so we now have that color on our lens. So we have all this toxicity that we've absorbed from the outside. We now have our own experiences that come in from the other side. And now we are looking through these glasses. And these glasses basically are our perceptions. It's how we see the world. It's the color through which we see the world. And many of us see the world through shades of gray, right? It's not always going to be rainbows.
Should we take it up on ourselves to reprogram? Because you said, right, it's not just now because of the presence of social media.
Right.
We've been taught toxic thinking or other kinds of thinking patterns when we were small. So in our own capacity, even before speaking to a professional such as yourself, maybe there's some basic things that we can do just to either equip ourselves or, I don't know, maybe navigate it a little better, or how to recognize toxic thinking. Do we start from self-talk?
I would say, for me, it's about curiosity.
Okay.
Something I don't think that we empower our children to do enough of is the freedom to ask questions. We inundate them with information and we teach them to accept it as we've given it.
Or tell them to Google it.
Or tell them to Google it. And of course, there's no filter there, right? So what we need to do is really teach, and I wouldn't say just to our children. I'd say that's a great place to start, but we need to reteach ourselves across the board curiosity and critical thinking. We need to be questioning the things we're consuming, psychologically, physically, mentally, socially. Actually ask yourself, is this good for me? What makes this real? What makes this good? What makes this toxic? Why is this real?
But I just wanted to interject. Can you at least tell us, because I know there's a difference between being a skeptic and being a cynic, right? And then so when you're exposed to a certain kind of information, what should the attitude be
Neither. I
Okay.
think it should be curious.
Ah.
I just think it should be
Worth
curious.
noting, yeah.
Yeah, we're not saying that anything is good or everything is good or bad. It's more the question of will it serve me or not? Right? I don't like to label things as good or bad. I actually like to look at it from a functioning level. Is it good? Is it information that's going to serve me in my life as to where I am right now? Is there something more I should know? How can I find out more about that? Who can I talk to? Right? There's so much polarity, and we're actually seeing the polarity even in our politics start to sort of converge, because nobody knows what's this side and what's this side anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's getting blurry, right? So I think it's actually a really good time to start having this conversation, because it's a time for new creation.
Yeah.
And if we start asking ourselves these questions, we start thinking differently, we start feeling differently, and we start doing differently. And so this is actually a really great time. It's exciting because this is when innovation can happen. COVID forced innovation in a very short period of time into some of the industries that have been archaic for way too long. Somehow they survived that and they became better. We discovered hybrid ways of working, hybrid ways of educating. We've done so many different things in a very short period of time. I believe we're in another time of transition right now, where again, not everything is right or left or black or white. It's about what's going to serve us better going forward, because we have changed.
Yeah, because most of the time, you know, if you're old school saying there's no such thing as being on the fence, you're either this way or this way. And that thinking has forced people to get offended just because someone else is on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, but why not just dismantle the fence?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? Let's just dismantle the fence and actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's not about being on this side or that side. It's about, tell me more. Tell me more about you. You know, and our talk, we now talk about the toxic thinking part, again, it's how we perceive things. If I perceive that there's a fence there, there's a barrier. If we dismantle that fence, there's no barrier between you and I anymore. And let's talk about what diversity we have between the two of us, the differences, so that we can play off each other's strengths. Let's discover what is our connective tissue. What makes us the same? And what binds us? And I think as a humanity, that's such an important conversation for us to have, because we've been talking about divisiveness for far too long.
It's
right?
true.
There's a whole new topic for us, by the way.
that's why I was giggling. So, because toxic thinking, if you know how to approach it, recognize it, you can actually veer it into conflict resolution, because as you say, if there's the curiosity, that will spark conversation, and at least it'll go into something that you've never considered before, because you were trapped in your own mind of like arguing with yourself.
That's right.
That you forget to reach out and say, hey, you're the other half of this relationship and I forgot to ask you how you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? I think the only thing that that's nice that came out of all of these like overwhelming memes is, you know, check on somebody even if you don't think they're having problems. That's the one good thing. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Yes, 100%. And then so do you notice with your clients, is it always a category of high stress in my work, high stress in my relationship? Is that a type of a human conditioning that, okay, I'm going to go to Sejal because I can't take being with my husband anymore? Like, do they compartmentalize their stress, and is that the right way of going about it?
So you've asked a lot of questions in that short time. So is compartmentalization a normal phenomenon? Absolutely. Because compartmentalization is how first responders, healthcare workers, people in emergency services actually are able to perform their job.
Because they're triaging in their minds.
Because they are compartmentalizing
Yeah.
the emotional, the human aspects of what it is that they're seeing in the moment in order to be able to perform.
Yeah.
The important part is that we need to teach them how to reintegrate. And so that compartmentalization doesn't turn into Pandora's box that just stores everything until it explodes. So what we teach is reintegration, so that it becomes a natural phenomenon, almost a muscle. I call it the mind muscle, so that it learns how to compartmentalize when it has to and reintegrate, and compartmentalize and reintegrate. And so it just becomes a normal way of functioning, but allows the person to process what they're seeing, how they're feeling, and what's going on, right? But while still not compromising them on the ground. So that's a natural phenomenon there, but it's also natural in any of us, because a lot of people will compartmentalize their issues. The problem is again, you don't want to be stacking them, because then it becomes the overwhelm. The other question that you asked is, when do people come to see me? And unfortunately, they tend to seek out help or support when they're in crisis, which is the worst time to be seeking out support, because you're now compromised and vulnerable and almost desperate, right? And the person that you choose to work with is someone that you should feel comfortable with, someone that you trust. So you should already, in an ideal world, have that established relationship with somebody. So I always invite the community to come out, give a call, and vet the professionals in your area. Come and have a conversation with me, see if I am your person, and if I am, you put me in your back pocket. And then when trouble does happen, let's start working on that. You don't even have to wait till the trouble starts, because if things are going good in your life, now is the perfect time for us to be working on the psychoeducational aspects of therapy, which is to build the buffers and to build the protective factors, so that when chaos happens, you're able to bounce back better, you're able to deal with it better, because you already have the things in place that you need. You're dealing with it with more confidence. So personally, I love to see people when they're doing well. I like to get to know them when they're doing great.
It's like insurance. You need it when you don't need it.
Right? And then all of a sudden, when something does go wrong and you're in the worst place of your world, in your life, it becomes a no-brainer and so easy for you to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm going to call Sejal. Because you already know that I know you, and you don't have to explain the whole darn thing to me. You don't. It becomes easier for you during those vulnerable times. So I always tell people this analogy. Do you go shopping for jeans when all your jeans are worn out and you're in your underwear? Or do you go shopping for your jeans or have a backup pair in your drawer already? Right?
That's right.
So don't go shopping for a therapist in your underwear. Yeah. Go when you are of your right mind, your right place, so that you can ask those critical questions about them, to know, interview them to know if they're the right person for you, right?
A lot of people, their hesitation comes from, oh, in our culture, you stand proud of your marriage no matter what the situation is. Yes. In the Philippines, we're one of the last countries to even consider divorce, right?
Correct.
Because we're 80% Catholic and all those wonderful things. But reality is, more than half of married couples are already separated, but they're married according to the church, right? They're married according to the law. But then they have different pathways they've separated.
But let's ask the question that if they had gotten the right support at the right time, how many of them would actually be separated, and how many would be living a good life together? What's possible? Yeah. Right? Yeah. I've had couples make it through infidelity, make it through addictions, make it through child rearing, tragedy, and been able to maintain successful relationships because it was the right relationship for them. So they were at the cusp of separating, or they were already separated, and we've seen so many different scenarios. And so when I hear what you're saying, which is, we come from a culture that this is what we believe, but yet this is what we're experiencing, my question or my curiosity there goes, well, what's possible if people actually got the education, meaning the psychoeducation in terms of relationships, discovering what toxicity is in their individual thinking and then their thinking as a couple.
Exactly.
That we could be working through, right? To sort of bring them to common ground, to get them to realize again the differences versus the commonalities. Maybe they discover that really separation is the place, but maybe it's a more amicable separation, right? Like I never say that the goal of counseling is that you stay together. We don't know that. Nobody knows that. The goal is, no matter what state the relationship is in, that you are in a better place. And if we can go through divorce more amicably, if we can go through co-parenting more amicably, everybody's quality of life, everybody's experience of that relationship is better.
Very, very, very good. It's besides the culture thing, it's all there's also the intergenerational.
Yep. I'm East Indian. Let me tell you, I know all about it. Yeah.
It's like your grandmother saying, "Oh, don't even come to me with that kind of."
Yeah. Let me tell you, when I was divorced at a very young age. I got married young and I divorced young. And I was probably the first of our social community. And I was highly shunned for it. And my parents felt a lot of shame around it. And now every other child is divorced and separates. Now it doesn't matter. But back then it was tough.
Yeah, there's that other issue of like fear of failure.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Because, with all the high standards academically, like socially, like status-wise. So basically, I'm going to ask you to help equip our viewers.
Okay.
Maybe there are, simpler steps that they can do for themselves and, at least have that before they can even call you and go, Sejal, I want to have this conversation.
Oh, for sure. So what I do is I try to help people when they say, what do you do? Well, I try to help people move from pain to possibilities.
Oh, I love that.
So how do I do that? I try to provide tools, resources, conversations around ways of moving yourself from pain to possibilities, trying to build up those skill sets. So one of the tools that we've developed is called the ABCs of life. And life stands for leaning into the full experience.
Leaning into the full experience.
Right. So whenever I think about life, that's what I'm thinking about. I want to lean into the full experience of being human and allowing myself that ability to be able to feel everything, express everything, without shame, without guilt, without those things that tend to hold us and to bind us, right? So I want to look at the steps of the ABCs of life that are going to help people basically move from pain to possibilities, and that will hopefully get them to think about the toxic thoughts that they may be having that are confining them and defining them, which is what's really holding them in this place that they don't want to be in. So the first one is awareness. The A is awareness. So what that step is about is really understanding the emotions you're feeling around the issue. So think about what the issue is that you'd like to work on first. And then we're going to, like I said, build this idea of awareness around it. So what is the emotions that I associate with this issue? What is the toxic thinking? What is toxic about my thinking about this issue? What is it that is influencing the way I act when it comes to this issue? Right? So really building a full kind of like 360 perspective of who am I, what am I, and how am I presenting when it comes to this problem. Because the more you know about yourself, the more you're able to dissect this, to go deeper into it, the more you're able to free yourself from the things that are tying you down in it, that are weighing you down. Because sometimes we feel so heavy, right, with this stuff. So the second one is bold action. Now that you've identified some of these confining elements, what is one bold action that you can take right now, the easiest one, to make a difference? What is the biggest difference that you could see if you made a bold move? What is the easiest difference? The easiest one to do, the lowest hanging fruit action that you could take right now to make that difference. So that's the B. So you go from awareness, which is probably for me the biggest piece, right? The one with the most questions, to then a plan. What am I going to do different? Because if you do something different, if you behave different, if you act different, it will change the way that you feel or think about a situation. It can't be the same. There's something will shift.
Something will shift. Something will take you out of the rut.
Right? Yep. And then the last piece of the ABCs is C, commitment. Be committed to consistency and continuity. So meaning that keep doing this. You can keep doing this process for the same issue multiple times and get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into it. It's like peeling an onion, right? Continue it. Use it for yourself. Use it for someone you care about. Use it in different situations, even with a duo. So we can even play with this if you like, you know, so that you can see what it feels like and how it feels to move through it, you know. And I've used this without knowing that this is what it was for years with clients. It wasn't until I actually sat down and dissected, well, what is this? What am I doing
there was
over
a pattern.
and over? There was a pattern. And it's like, oh, geez. And it was simple. It actually, to me, honestly, I was a skeptic because I was like, no, this is just way too simple. Yeah. People are going to think this is silly. But you know, every time I've used it, every time I've walked someone through it, it's been like revealing it for them. It's been changing for them. So that's where I've built faith in it, in that I've seen it over and over and over and over again and work. And it is simple, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Right?
I think, well, just by hearing it, I already hear how effective it is, only because you're already more, like, you're facing things that maybe you've never looked at before when it comes to the awareness. You'll be making big decisions that maybe you were scared to do or face back then when you were in the middle of it, and you're like, I don't know, I don't have control.
You're exploring the possibilities.
Exactly. Yeah. And then with the commitment, you know, the decision was already there. So moving forward, when you're faced with a little bit of an obstacle, you go, well, yeah, but when I already decided that I'm going to stick with this. So it already eliminates a lot of the things that will, you know, pull you back into that problem. It eliminates all the obstacles of you having to doubt yourself or feeling lost because you've already opened up that awareness. You already made some big moves, big decision, at least the easy ones first, right, before progressing. And you've already wanting to have that consistency, accountability. So yeah, like it really sounds effective already. And would you recommend doing this with a buddy?
You can, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I do it with clients all the time, and without even thinking about it, without even telling them that they're doing it, right? Because you don't need to know what you're doing unless you want to know. And like I said, then start using it as a tool. I've actually gone and printed, actually on my website, people can walk themselves through this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's an important thing to mention, and there is a QR code to download resources as well. This is just something that we're giving away because we recognize that people need help, need access to something, and need to be empowered to be able to make a difference in whatever their situation is, right? And if you do need support, get it. Absolutely get it. Because like I said, even I, through a lot of the things that I've experienced, have done a lot of things on my own. And it's just so much more fun when you have someone else doing it with you, right? And connections and bonding. And we are human and we are social creatures. And so it really is about connection. And like I said, if the pandemic taught us anything, it was really that, of how important that element is. And so if you find that you're struggling with connection, you know, using this process to discover how to enhance your interpersonal interactions is a great idea. If you're already in a relationship and you're struggling with it, maybe use this with your partner and use it as a game. Gamify it. Go back and forth in conversation with it. There's just, you can use this in so many different ways. In your workplaces, with your teams, team building. It doesn't have to be something that you are using to heal. It can be used as something to move. Just to shift your thinking.
I like that because at the end of the day, you're always thinking, you know, was I productive? You'll always have that thought in your mind. Did I progress? Did I solve something, right? Did I move forward? And in a world where every problem, the answer is there's an app for that. Well, there kind of is. There are steps, but you still have to bring out the human in you and really process this. Maybe process it with somebody. Best way is to really go through with it with Sejal here. And okay, so let's do just like a very, very quick sample, okay? So let's pretend you're speaking to somebody who's a very high-functioning individual, but then...
That's not pretending, that's my everyday. I specialize in the high functioning that work under high pressure.
Extremely talented, let's say. But then, out of her whole family, she's the only one that's like that. And, you know, with that super strong personality, she becomes overbearing to everyone around her.
Yes.
And even if she has a good heart...
Have you been talking to my mom?
Hey!
Because you're kind of describing me right here. No.
And her whole family is just stressed because, you know, everything is too much because of this person who's trying to be just the best at her game, right? But then it breaks down all that bonds that are supposed to be there, because to her it's like, okay, if it's not making us money, if it's not productive, if it's not this about, like, let's say the business, then I don't have time for it.
Right. So let's give her a name. Do you have a name for her?
Angela.
Angela. Okay. So, you know, let's look at Angela's situation. There's a lot of things that we could sort of dissect there. And where I'm going to start is let's look at how she defines productive, because that's the word that you used over and over again. So let's start there. So Angela's perception of productivity.
So to her, she makes really good money. So to her, everything that she does is either finding clients, closing cases, whatever her industry is, she's very successful at it. And everything else is fluff to her.
Okay. So that's how she defines productive. How might her family define productive?
They like it when she gets to spend time with them, but she has this wall around her of like, okay, but I gotta go back to work right after this. Like, she's not present because she thinks that I could be growing my thing while taking care of you guys. And I'm taking care of you guys, right?
Well, in her mind, she is. She's providing.
Yes, that's right.
She's providing, right? So what we're doing, what we can say, because I know you said you wanted this to be a little bit quicker. What we
need
can say,
an episode 2.
What we can say is that the toxic thinking is the let's say the definition of the productivity, how she's defining or laying the importance of productivity over everything else. Because somewhere down the line, she was taught or ingrained that you're measured by success.
Yes.
You're valued as a person based on your success. Therefore, you must be productive. And if you don't produce this kind of income, this kind of status, then you are not of value. That could be her frame of reference in terms of her toxic thinking. Where did it come from? Probably things that she was brought up with, both external and internal to her family. And it was then reinforced with society and media and everybody wanting luxury cars and beautiful
and
things.
Affirmation
right?
from everything
All
else.
kinds of things. So, you know, it's not that there's something wrong with her. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying, how is this thinking impacting the rest of her life? Right? So there's an awareness piece, because we've defined the toxic thinking, but emotionally, you know, there's a disconnect between her and her family. How does it affect her thinking? Well, she's closed in on herself. She's not maintaining those relationships. And if she was to reflect on her life, she probably doesn't feel like she has a lot of quality in terms of those relationships. And then how does she act? Well, she tends to withdraw because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that time. So that's her awareness piece. Now, she recognizes, I want to change this. Now that I'm aware of what this is and how it's showing up in my life, I want to change it. So what's one thing I'm going to do? What's the easiest thing I could do today that's going to make some difference, any kind of difference? I could turn my phone off at 6 o'clock at night.
Like a hard
stop,
yeah.
Right? Now, she might choose something different, but I'm just giving you like easy
something
things
that will change
that could change, a bold
yeah.
action.
Okay.
I'm going to turn my cell phone off when I'm at home or at dinner time even, right? Just even for those 2 hours.
Yep.
That's the easiest thing. What is the thing that could make the smallest difference? I could take Friday afternoons off. What could make the biggest difference is I could actually reinvent my schedule so that it either incorporates my family into my work life and me into my personal life. So again, those are bigger changes, but that comes over time. But the easiest one, like I said, is to turn the button off,
yeah.
right? So there's your bold action. Your commitment is that I'm going to keep doing this, even if I screw up, even if I forget on Wednesday to turn my phone off.
Yeah.
That's
if it
okay.
stresses you in the beginning,
right?
Yeah.
I can do it for 15 minutes on Thursday just to start breaking it in. Be committed to the change, right? And keep working at it, even if it doesn't feel good. Because at the beginning of any behavior change, it's going to feel very uncomfortable, which is normal. And it's going to be a conscious effort. But the more you do it, the more you are programming your brain to accept it, and that it becomes more natural, all of a sudden then it becomes effortless over time. But the commitment is for the continuity and consistency to keep doing it, even if you mess up. Just keep trying, keep going, keep doing that change. And that's the difference. So even if we were to, let's say, reflect on this post a week or a month, imagine the difference that it's made for her, even if she just turned off her phone for 1 hour at dinner every night. What's shifted?
Yeah.
Chances are they've had conversation over dinner. Chances are she's discovered something new about her kids, or her kids have discovered something new about her.
That's right.
Maybe they've discovered a new appreciation for each other. All of a sudden the relationships have shifted. Has it solved all their problems? Absolutely not. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about making a shift.
And it's nice that you said a little change in behavior, because people are really like, oh, you can't change people. It's impossible. I've tried.
Absolutely you can.
But the behavior is very effective. And we've come to the end of the show.
Already?
Already. So we're going to ask for a second episode for this. But I just wanted to thank you, Sejal, so much.
Thank you.
You know, you're all going to be jealous because I'm going to share a meal with her after this episode. But that's the thing. You only need to be able to think inwards, but always reach out.
Always.
We keep forgetting that there was a time where people had to go through landlines to reach us, and if it's busy, that's it. If no one picks up the phone, that's it, right? Let's not let technology and all those wonderful things make us inhuman.
Yeah,
right?
use them as tools.
Use them as tools
to humanize our experiences between each other.
That's right. Let's take back control. I know there's no such thing as a work-life balance, but because we're always going to be heavy on one thing at any particular time, but be able to really assess yourself, right? Be aware, make changes, bold ones, and really try to commit, because it's going to be fun. It's simple.
Fun.
It's a process. There is a system. But you have to also have fun with it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sejal.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We'll have you back. We need a podcast for this. Thank you so much. And that was today's Insights. We'll see you next time.